This conference will now be recorded.
Perfect. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, sir.
Hello, everybody. Can you see my screen also?
Yes, yes, sir. Can see.
Okay, okay. Okay, so yesterday we were actually discussing about virtual machine, right? I'm just going to show you how we can really create. That's the thing which we're gonna start today. Okay, so we will be going ahead and creating two virtual machines. I'll show you how what is the purpose and how we can really do that. Okay, so let's start. Now, in case if I go back to the virtual machine, first click on this. Okay, I'll just click on create new virtual machine. Okay, so the first thing what we need to really do is select the resource group. You can also create a resource group directly from here. I'm going to create a so I'm just going
మళ్ళీ
to
రోజు
name this one.
నువ్వు రెగ్యులర్ ప్యాడ్ చేంజ్ చేసుకోకు నీ రెగ్యులర్ ప్యాడ్ ని చేంజ్ చేసుకో అర్థమైందా
Hello,
రెగ్యులర్ ప్యాడ్ తో పోలిస్తే ప్రోయిస్ గో ఎక్సెల్ కేవలం పొడుగు
guys,
మరియు
can you
రెండు
please
రెట్లు ఎక్కువగా పీల్చుకుంటుంది మరి లభిస్తుంది రెగ్యులర్ ప్యాడ్స్ లోనే వెళ్ళు చేంజ్ చేసుకో నీ బ్రాండ్
put on mute 1 minute? Someone is talking. Okay, so we are going to create a resource group. So I'm just going to name it as like RG hyphen DevOps Azure.
చదవాలి సైన్స్ లో డాక్టర్ చేయాలనుంది కానీ ఇంటర్లో ఎక్కడ చదవాలి డౌట్స్ అండి బ్రో ఒక్కసారి
Hello,
రెసిడెన్స్ సైట్ చూడండి తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాల్లో ఇంటర్ తో పాటు ఐఐటి జేఈఈ
Ramana, can you please put on mute?
రెసిడెన్స్ హైదరాబాద్
Okay, yeah, sure. So what is this? RG hyphen Azure. Docs. Go ahead with this, and we are going to provide a name for this one. So I'm going to provide the name for here is like VM, RK, and Windows 10, for example, right? Hmm. We're going to select the center India here. Availability zone is fine. This trusted is okay. This is where we are going to kind of like select, right, which operating system you want to really go with. So we are selecting the Windows 10 here. Once Windows 10 is fine, we are going to select the standard BS2, which is okay. Yesterday I've showed you this one, right? It automatically picked up, and now I'm going to put up some name here. Maybe we can say Azure admin. Okay, is the name, and then I'm putting a password. You have to put up a password which should be at least it's mentioned already here that what password must be have three following things: lowercase, uppercase, one character, one number, and one special character, and can be actually from 12 to
Sir,
123 character.
sir,
Yes.
did you
Hello.
created the security group separately, sir? Anything, or it is inbuilt?
No, we haven't created a security group yet. It's a inbuilt option. I'm going to show you that one.
Okay, okay, sir.
Perfect. Okay. So now we are going to create. I'm going to put up a password here, and then again here also. And then here inboard port, right? Now this is a part of the security right? Kind of like a network security group comes in the picture, and this is where we can really add up. But the basic thing what we are going to use or allow here is just RDP, because we are not going to install anything on this application or in this particular virtual machine. We are just going to connect this virtual machine to access, or trying to kind of like just see how things really work out in the cloud, because Windows 10 is something which is not a operating system where we can install any application and should be really running and accessing that application. So we are keeping this um, kind of like not required. So we're just keeping only RDP 3389. Okay, I confirm this and click on next. Okay, image fine. I'm not going to go with the premium. I'm going with standard. And then next. So here also you have an option. So for example, if you want to create by default, you will be having a C drive, right? By default, this is a boot drive actually, or a operating system drive where you can get 127 GB of space, right? But in case if you have a requirement wherein you want to add on more drive actually into this particular system, so you can also attach a file here, or sorry, attach the kind of like a new disk here, which will act as your D drive or E drive, whatever you want to mention, right? That's an additional disk which you can add up here. Perfect. Now for the network thing here, this is also an interesting thing, right? We will be speaking about virtual machines, subnets, network. What is this in our coming videos, coming sessions? But definitely we will be getting into how we can really do it. So public IP address is fine. Here I am going to, because I will be accessing this application on the public internet. If you do not really create public, so to access that one, we need to create a public IP address also. This also we'll see how we can really do it, and why this public access and what is private access and everything. We will talk about that also. Okay. Now here there's one more thing. In case if I'm creating a virtual machine, and that time it is automatically assigning me two IP addresses, or two, you can say, network cards, right? One network card is for your public access, another one is for the private access. By default, what happens whenever you delete your virtual machine, by default virtual or the net private network card gets deleted. However, the public IP and the NIC is not, kind of like, it will get created as a separate entity. So if you want, you can click on here and you can say that, okay, whenever you are deleting, just delete, in case if I'm deleting this particular virtual machine, delete the public IP address which I have created with this. And this is a good practice, right? Or sometimes if you are creating a static IP address, then that time you can kind of like keep this unchecked. So your IP address will not get changed. So tomorrow, in case if you want to assign this IP address to some other server, you can assign, you can do that also. Okay. So we'll just keep it here, and this is okay. This will go into the multiple things. Okay, now everything is fine here. Monitoring, I'm not allowing anything here, which is okay. And then custom data and everything, which is fine. And then create and review. Okay, now here you can see that even though we have selected an app operating system, which, or instance type, which is somewhere around 3,500 rupees per month, but the configuration we are creating, that will cost us 3 rupees plus 51 paisa per hour. So this is the hourly rate. If you see, right, the INR in the hourly rate. So that means, in case if I create this, and even if I use it only for 1 minute, still I have to pay for 1 hour data, or 1 hour, the fees actually for this particular instance. Okay, so everything is looking good. Subscription resource group, you know your resource group, the windows, the region, availability zone, it automatically picked up a Windows 10 image. Very good. Username is Azure admin. We have enabled RDP here. Okay, image, we have used the default image. Networking, we have used all these options. Management, a lot of things are off currently. And yes, everything is fine. I'll just go ahead and create it. Okay, so along with this, when you are creating this, right, because we haven't created all the components, it will automatically go ahead and create this component. Okay, you can see that the component, first component we have is the, the virtual network. Then it create the address, the kind of like security group. Here it's also created a security group specifically for this particular server. Okay, or a operating virtual machine. We can create one common network security group also, and we can assign that to multiple instances. We'll talk about that as we move on, right? But as we are seeing, we are creating this one separate one for this one. So creating a Windows Server virtual machine or Windows operating system virtual machine sometimes take 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, but in case if you are creating any non-Windows like Linux or any other thing, it's very fast.
RK, small request. Say,
Yes.
along with the DevOps engineer, what and all roles and responsibilities will be there admin side?
Admin
Uh,
side.
um, Admin side, what and all roles and responsibilities will be there apart from DevOps side?
Okay. So apart from
VMs
DevOps
creations,
side,
okay, okay, yeah,
yes, yes, that is all something which will be there. However, if you talk about DevOps, why actually we are talking about DevOps? Because once you learn the DevOps, administration of the instances and everything will become kind of like a secondary thing. Because you will be responsible for creating everything using a scripting. Nowadays nobody is really using the manual way, like the way I'm showing you, right? Nobody is using that way. It's maybe for the testing purpose is fine, but when you get into a
right,
real world experience, right, nobody is kind of like going into a console clicking new and all those things. No, it's all Terraform, and that is what I'm going to teach you also, that how to use Terraform. That's very important. Okay.
great,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you click on here, our virtual machine is up and running. Perfect. I can see all the information here, right? Now, if I want, I can just go ahead and create connect here. Okay, we have a option to connect from Bastion, and we have an option to connect from a normal IP addresses. So we'll get in this first. Now, once you have a Windows 10 operating system, right, or Windows operating system eventually, because Windows will be providing you the RDP options, so you can download or you can actually use your own RDP thing. You just have to put up the username and a password, and you can connect. So, for example, if I go back here and if I search for about desktop connection. So if I click on the remote desktop connection, which will look something like this, right? You can also see, and it's by default already available. So here in this case, what I need to really do is I need to provide the the service connection, whatever the computer IP address which I have. So this is my IP address. So I can either put up here IP address, a username, and then whenever I'm connecting, it will ask me the password. So whatever password I have really provided, I have to really use that one. So my IP address is this, my username will be this, right? And then once I connect, I can connect it. Another option is that it also provides you the RDP file. So if you click on here, it will automatically download this RDP into your local environment, which is again simple, very stuff. You just have to click on this one. The advantage of having this one is that it will automatically have your username, it's something like this. So it will have the IP address automatically picked up and a username also. So if I click on connect, okay, can you see it said Azure admin already? I just have to provide my password here. Okay, and I'll say remember me. Okay, what happened? Okay, Azure admin. I think it says password. It's wrong. I don't know why. No worries. I think it's keep on asking me. No worries. What we can do is, in case if you forget the password, you can still go inside the reset password option and you can change the password. So I'm going to change it. Okay, I'll click on here one more time. Click on connect. So once you provide this one, right, this is how it will really access, and it first time it will download the certificate. This is again a certificate which we generally use in HTTPS or other component, but this is a server level certificate which will allow or add your computer as a safe and having a secure communication between. So I'll just say yes, and this one I am able to see my screen here like this way. So it's my Windows operating system in the cloud, which I can almost do everything whatever I can do in my own laptop. So nowadays what is happening, people are actually started using these kind of technologies to give it to their employees rather than buying a expensive hardware or expensive laptop and all. What they can do is you can use the normal laptops, and then they can really provide this kind of environment which is more secure, more controllable, okay, which we generally call it as a VDI solution, virtual desktop interface. And that virtual desktop interface is provided by Windows also. Windows is really pushing a lot of on this one. So where you can have a Windows 10 operating system I'm talking about, and to give it to your normal users. And this is how our virtual machine really look like. In case if I want to access my internet, I can go back here, and internet is already allowed here. So I'll confirm and continue without this data, confirm and continue. Okay, right, and I can then go ahead and maybe we can type google.com here, and it will become my again as exactly the same virtual machine which I really want to connect to, right? Because I've connected the Google internet, and I can now play around with this one. I can install some application onto this one, and I can use it as I go, right? So this is a one very simple or a basic or a first, you can say that the uh, environment or the the virtual machine which we can go and create. Now after this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to also create another virtual machine. Let's go back, and I'm going to create a new virtual machine which is Ubuntu virtual machine, which is a Linux operating system, right? Now why Linux operating system? Because when we are going to deploy an application, we are trying to do the deployment onto the Ubuntu system. And why actually we need to really do, I'll show you quickly. Okay, let's go ahead, create a virtual machine. Okay, here I'm going to use the same exact resource group which I've created, right? So I've created this RG Azure DevOps. I'm going to select this one, and this time I'm going to name this as RK Ubuntu Server 1. Okay, and then exactly everything is fine. Instead of this operating system image, right? Instead of the Windows 10, I'm going to select Ubuntu 20.
Sir,
That's it. That's all. Yes,
sir, is this the same process for Mac also or only for Windows?
Mac also means. You mean from Mac or from, no, you cannot create a Mac on this one. Mac is not allowed.
Then how can we do, sir?
Means Mac operating system you say?
Yes, sir.
No, no, no. Mac is not allowed. Mac is only runs on the hardware. They have not really
Okay.
virtualized the Mac so far in the in running in the any virtual environment. That's not possible because Mac goes with a certain hardware requirement, and that hardware requirement needs to be there. Mac cannot really run on anything. Like for example, iPhone, right? iPhone only run on the iPhone. You cannot really run, or
And
maybe
Mac
iOS.
Mac operating system will not work as a server operating system, right? It's a client operating
Yes,
system.
it's a
If
client
I'm
operating system, exactly. So Mac is also a
uh,
client like a Windows 10. Windows 10 is a client, right? Windows Server is again a server component. Ubuntu is a server component. Windows 10 or
yes.
a Mac is not a server component. Okay, perfect.
Okay,
So
sir.
here we are going to use the Ubuntu system here. I'm going to keep the same exact BS2 to just a smaller thing. Here now so what happened? Windows generally comes with the username and a password, only username and password. That's it. But Linux operating systems have one more step actually, which we can really create, and you can define that as a service or SSH public key or a private key, whatever you call it as, right? So it's a combination. Now, what happens when you are providing this public key, right? That time, maybe I'll just give you a quick display about how things really work out. Okay. So say like if I go back here, right? So any virtual machine, right? When we talk about Windows, in case if I have a Windows can simply go with just a, because it's a RDP thing, it really can go with a username and a password. So you just can put up a username and password. That's the method actually which you can really connect to your virtual machine using a RDP, right? Wherein when we have a Ubuntu operating system, okay, that time you can have a two choices. One is a username and a password, okay, and there is one more secure way, because if you are connecting it from the SSH, which is a command line interface, you can also have something like a SSH key. Okay. Now, what happens when you talk about username and password, which is if I give this username and a password, anybody can really connect to this operating system. As simple as that. And this is a normal right? If I give you my username and a password, you will be able to connect to this Ubuntu also, which is allowed. But when you create a SSH key, what happens, there is a complete different mechanism which really comes with. This particular Ubuntu system create a two key authentication system. Okay, one key, and this key is something like which we call it as a private key and a public key. Okay, now this concept really comes with a combination saying that whenever a Ubuntu systems get created, it generate these two keys. Public key is something which get added into the Ubuntu, and private key is something which can really allow to any user or provided to the user. Now this private key is very important now, because this become your password. Now, what happens whenever you try to connect to your virtual machine, along with the IP address and everything, as you are, we are sending the username password. But here in this case, you need to really send this private key to the Ubuntu system, and these two keys, because at the time of creation, this will get generated. After that, you cannot generate. You have to restart or maybe re-upload and all those things, which is a very tick process. But in case if you create this private key, and if you have this private key, every time you will be connecting using this private key, which is more secured way. Okay, and you have to ensure that this private key is also with you also. It's a very big kind of like a text file, again encrypted all the codes and everything. So that's why we can really use it. I'll show you both the ways. Okay, so first we'll go with the username and a password. Okay, okay, I'm inside this one. Okay, now I'm going to select the password here, and I'm going to mention again as your admin here, and same password I'm going to use. Okay. Now again here, as I mentioned, right, last time when we have access actually or maybe enabled it, it asks us for the Windows 10, and by default it pick up the RDP. Here this time it is automatically picking up the SSH, because we have selected Ubuntu operating system, right? Now here along with Ubuntu system, I am also, there's no RDP here, because again Ubuntu doesn't really work out with the RDP, so it automatically disabled that one. What I can do is I can also select the HTTP one, because I am going to install one application and I'm going to access that application using this port. So I'm going to enable this one. Click next. Again image is 30 GB. Now here last time if you see, right, for Windows we got it with the 127 GB of image size or the the disk space actually, because Windows is very heavy and you need to really have a big kind of like a configuration there. But when it comes with the Ubuntu, it's a very lightweight operating system because it won't have any kind of like a UI. So because that UI part is not there, so the disk requirement will become very very low, and that's where you can see it by default 30 GB now. I'm going to select again the standard SSD here, and again here also you can get an option to add a new disk to the to the existing virtual machine in case if you have. I'll click on next here. Now everything is fine. We have actually created last time this virtual network, Windows 10 virtual network. I can either use the same virtual network for my operating system, the Linux operating system, or I can also create a new one. I'll show you maybe next in the next session. Next chapter actually is the networking. That time we will get into more deeper about these things. Okay. Perfect. Again, I'm allowing the public IP address here, which is okay. And then I'm going to select this, which is fine. And next. Okay, next monitoring, advanced, next, review and create. Again, here also it is giving me almost similar kind of like, the INR thing, which is okay. And I'm going to create virtual machine. Okay. So the virtual machine is there. I'll just click on this. Okay, and it automatically say yes, everything is fine, the resource group, the Linux operating system size, and everything whatever I have, right, a public IP address, and all those things are there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this public IP address, okay, or I will just click on this, connect, and it will connect, try to connect on this operating system. Now how to really connect this operating system, right, because this is SSH, okay, and that's where we are going to use the command line interface for this one. So I'll just click on my command prompt. Okay, this is my command prompt which I'm already having. Now to command prompt, what we need to really do is we need to provide uh, this SSH, because this SSH is already, or SSH already available in Windows, because it kind of like earlier we need to download and all, but it is already there. So in case if I just run it, you can see the SSH command line interface which is already there. Now when you are really trying to connect to any virtual machine, okay, or any Ubuntu virtual machine or any Linux virtual machine, the way you do it using the username and a password is that you put a SSH here, okay, and then you have to go with something like a username of that virtual machine. Okay. Now we have seen here the IP address of this virtual machine is 20.197.46.114, and the username is Azure admin. So we have to use the exact same method. Azure admin, say 20.197.114. This is something which I have to add. Now the moment I add it and if I enter, it will go and connect, and it is giving me the exact same kind of response which I got it for Windows also, to accept this accept this certification. So I'm saying yes. Now it is asking me the password here. I'm going to put up a password, even though it will not show you that whether it is getting typing or not, but it is assuming that this is where you can see. Okay, so put up a right password A. Okay, I put up a password, but it's not still showing anything, right? I have to assume that yes, password is typed and it is there. I just say enter. If the password is correct, it will automatically. So it is saying no, the password is not correct. You have to again add it. So I'm going to add. What happened? Okay, strange. How come? Okay, I think Azure admin, right? SSH Azure admin, because the username should also be correct. Otherwise, it will not allow you. So you Azure admin. Yes, it's fine. Okay, and then the public IP address is also correct. Let me try one more time. What's happening? Okay, let me go back again and reset the password. This is not good. Two times, how come I forget? Okay, I think reset password, and I'm going to click on this. Wait. Yes, okay. Now let me control C. No, no, there's something wrong.
I
I
think
think I'm
RK
not.
the username is somewhat different. There's no E.
I mean, that's okay. So select. I'm going to select the native here. Okay, and stop.
Any
Okay.
port has to be allowed?
No, no, port is already allowed. 22 is
Okay,
already allowed. That's why it gave me this one, right? Otherwise, it will not give me this one. So if the
correct,
port is
correct.
not allowed, this will not give you. What happened? Why it stopped? Public username is also correct. Where is the username? Seriously? Okay, yeah. Select. Okay, so I can either copy from this one also. So if you copy this as your admin is perfect, then why it is not showing? Okay, we'll see. I'm going to say SSH, paste it here, whatever I copied. I can also click on here, completely here, just copy it, Control C, and we'll put it here, paste. Something wrong, I don't know. Okay, so once you are connected, this is how you will be connecting to the your remote because it does not have any UI or something like that, you can just connect it using it. Now what I can do, I can start installing or configuring this particular, so I can maybe either install or run in my application. So yesterday, as I mentioned, that when you are going for a Ubuntu or any Linux operating system, you need to really also deploy the web application or web server first, and after that web server you can then deploy your application. Perfect. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say sudo. These are some of the commands and you will get familiar. So don't worry about it. Just follow me as I'm mentioning, right? Sudo apt update. Now, sudo is the command actually which is used in Windows, or sorry, used in Linux operating system or specifically Ubuntu and all, to kind of like upscale your user, or make your user as an administrator or behave as an administrator. Okay, because when you are trying to install anything in the Ubuntu, you have to be administrator. Because I'm logged in as a first user, which is the Azure admin, which is by default admin, but still, whenever you are running a normal command, it run as a normal user. If you want to run or install anything, you have to run that as an administrator, right? Maybe you have seen that in Windows also, that when you are want to make any changes into your anything, you have to right click and then you can say that run as a window administrator. Same thing here as it is, right? So I can just click here. I will, it is asking me one more time password. I'm just putting a password here one more time. So this is the way actually, first of all, whenever you connect to your Linux or Ubuntu operating system, you have to do the updates. Okay, what happens, whenever you are really running this apt is a package manager or an installer actually inside your Ubuntu operating system. So when you say apt update, that means update all the packages or update my operating system, because this operating system might be like 6 month old or 1 month old. Maybe they do regularly, they update that things, but still, so what you want to do is you want to update all the security patches and everything. So by default, everything will get updated, everything will get assigned. So now I can install any any application on. Yes, how can I do that? Now again, sudo apt. You can see that how easy and how it kind of like maybe fast it is in terms of creating creating login into the operating system Ubuntu, and then installing your web application. It's very fast. Let's see this one. So sudo apt update install, I'm going to install nginx. So yesterday I showed, right? Nginx is a service which is provided by or maybe a web application which is open source and which is very popular. Okay, now we'll just enter here. It is asking me yes, and I'm going to install. Done. Okay, you can see like maybe I think only 10 30 20 seconds. And once it is installed, what I can do is I can go back and I can actually try to access my web application, the one which I web server actually which I've really created. I can go back, I can just copy this URL and I will just paste it in my browser. That's it. As simple as that. So by default, whenever you are connecting it using the browser, by default it will go for a HTTP, which is a AT port, which we have already enabled. Right? I'll just click here, enter, and I should see my page. Welcome to Nginx. Right? This is my, again, if I say this is my simple web application which I have installed. Now inside this one, in case if I want to upload anything, if I want to upload say like any HTML files or anything whatever I have, I can really go ahead and do it. And as simple as that, we can really connect and we can simply start using it. Okay, so for this one, in case if you want to really connect to this guy, either you can update it from here itself. Okay, you can go back and you can change, make some changes in the code, or you can use it something like that. So for example, I'll just show you how you can really change the code here. So for that, once you install the nginx, it actually goes into a folder like www slash yeah, yes, I think user www, and then it will go into the HTML slash HTML. Not here. I think the cd root. Uh, ls and then cd user var cd var www.html. Okay, now here in this particular folder, okay, if I click ls here, these are some of the commands, guys. Okay, so don't worry, I'll explain you all the commands and everything whatever I have, so we can really go with this one. Now this is a index file actually, which is showing me all this html. This is a html file. As we all know, html is a format actually which is provided for all your hypertext markup language, and in case if we have this html file, you can go ahead and make some modifications here. So what I can do, either I can delete this or create my own, or if I want to change something, I can change that also. How can I really change that? For that I need to do sudo, because this is created by a sudo user, so I have to again make to modification into this one. I have to run like this one, sudo, I'll say vi editor, okay, and then I'm going to select this file name, and I'll just right click and then we'll paste it here, okay, enter. Now what happened, it actually open this file inside my the terminal, editing or opening it in a notepad or something like that. You can see in this particular application, I have this welcome to nginx. I can change this welcome to nginx to something else. Okay, now where is that line? If I go back, you can see this line is here, welcome to nginx. So this is actually, I don't know, the color is there, it's a different color, but you can see this is something which you can have. What I can do is I can also copy paste this line. Okay, I can also copy paste this line, or I can create something new. So I'll just click and okay, enter, and I'm going to say these are actually which we can really use inside your HTML. So H, and now I'm saying uh, just a minute, guys. I'm getting a call. 1 minute. Okay, sorry, guys. So let's get back to our here, and I'm going to color is welcome to Azure DevOps. This H1. Okay. Now I've saved, kind of like done with this one. I can really go and delete this line. I don't want this line now anymore. I'm going to use delete this one. So instead of now welcome to Nginx, it will show me welcome to DevOps. I can either edit that line, but I just kind of created one. Okay, I'm just saving this one. Control this is Q, exclamation, enter. Okay, now if I want to see whether whatever changes I have actually done into this particular file is correct or not, instead of vi, which is editing, I can only simply do the cat. Cat is a command which can actually print whatever you have in this particular file. So I'll just select this file, okay, and I will just right click and I will click again and enter. Now you can see that instead of welcome to Azure DevOps, actually it's showing spelling mistake is it came up because I was actually also not able to read that one. It was in a different color, but no issues. But now in case if I go back, what will happen? The moment I refresh, I'll see welcome to Azure DevOps. So this is where companies really do it, and this is how a development, or sorry, the deployment of application really happens. And this is very, again, a very simple, basic um, understanding or a basic creation of a virtual machine, which can really go. Which I show you how you can create first of all a normal Windows operating system. Okay, you have connected that using the again SSH and all, sorry, the RDP, and then how can we really connect the Ubuntu system and how we can deploy this one. Now there is one more thing which we have done here, that when we are connecting to this particular operating system, right? In a two operating system situation, what generally happens or what we should really do? As we can see here, I have created this Windows operating system, okay, with the Windows 10 username, and I also created a Ubuntu system. But when I'm trying to connect to this both the systems, right? When I'm trying to connect from say like my laptop, okay, from the laptop I'm able to connect to my Windows, and same time I'm also able to connect to my Ubuntu, which is my server. Okay, and that server I'm allowing to connect using username and password. Do you think it should be a good practice? Is it a good from the practice or a standard perspective? What do you think? From the security perspective, is this the way we should be really doing?
No,
This is definitely not no, definitely not the way, right? So what we can do here, what I can do here is that I can really block the access, because currently as a normal user, even though I have a laptop here, but as a normal user, okay, I have allowed a normal user, I have allowed access to both the things, because it's over the internet. It's public IP address. Anybody can really connect to my server, use my username and a password, and destroy my application. It can happen, right? But in case if, and then in case if I don't want this one, I want only Ubuntu, because I am actually allowing two ports here, port 22, okay, which is kind of like for the SSH, and I can also create something like a uh, maybe I will, okay, and one more port I can really create is a HTTP. This is something which I have created, but for this one what I did, I just created the RDP. Okay, so there is a better way, is that you should not allow a 22 port here, or should not allow direct communication on 22 ports to this Ubuntu system. Rather what you should really have is that remove this and only allow the SSH from here, and only allow HTTP access to the user, okay, whoever it is, and then from your Windows server try to connect to our Ubuntu one. In this case, you are not going to connect using a public IP address. You are going to connect using a private IP address. Okay. Now, what is this private IP address? If I go back, if I close this one, if I go to overviews, okay, I can see there are two IP addresses actually which are assigned to my uh, virtual machine. The first IP address is this, the public IP address, which is you can even also access. But this is the private IP address. Now, what happens whenever you create a virtual machine, and we have seen a concept like a virtual network here, right, or a subnet here. So that virtual machine or subnet actually become a layer, or a kind of like a grouping for these two operating systems. So if I send it back, and if I say this, select, and I'll just make it a little lighter. Okay. So now there is a network actually which got created, and which generally we call it as a virtual network. We'll talk about tomorrow, but I'm just giving you a high level understanding. Okay, so what happens when you create this grouping or a virtualization virtual network? Now what happens? These servers can communicate with each other. Okay, in case if you create two virtual networks, here one virtual network and another virtual network here, now you cannot communicate internally also. Okay, so you have to really make sure that you are placing it. There are some mechanism definitely which will enable you to really connect from one network to another network. That's something which you'll be seeing as we move ahead, but this is how a general scenario really goes with, because we have just one virtual network here right now, and we have both our virtual machine inside the same network. Okay, they will get a same IP address scheme kind of. Okay, if I go back again, you can see here it's 10.0. I will open one more window here and say duplicate. Okay, here here also I can click virtual machines, and I can see this is the Windows 10 virtual machine. Now with the Windows 10 virtual machine also I have two IP addresses. So one IP address is a public IP address, which is definitely very separate. Another one is a private IP address. Okay. Now in case if I connect from my local laptop, sorry, from my local laptop to this over the public IP address. Okay, using this one, if I am going public IP address, then what I have to do is I have to go back, go out here. I'm just keeping this as a reference system, select this one. So what I have to do, I have to go back to the internet.
We cannot hear
Okay,
you.
hello, hello, can you hear me? Hello,
Yeah, now we can hear
now?
you. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Perfect. So we have this internet. So what in case if I want to connect to my public IP address, even inside this one only, if I allow access to public internet, it will go to internet. It will go through a DNS server particular Ubuntu system, which is near to me. It's like calling someone you doesn't don't know whether you are exist or not. It's like a Facebook, right? There is a person who is actually residing besides you, and to connect to that one you are calling him, kind of like using some kind of a Facebook or something like that, or a WhatsApp call, for example, where you can use the extensions, right? So in case of this mechanism, rather what we do, we will connect using this IP address whatever we have. So if I go back and if I closely watch, my IP address for this one is 10.0.0.5, and if I go here, I can see it's 10.0.0.4. Okay, and they are in the both in the same network. So it's also same network, and this is also same network, right? That means if I am in the same network, by default it's allowed to communicate with each other. It's like, you are sitting in staying in a one society, and you can talk to one on each other. That's fine. Okay, so for that scenario, we will be one, and I will going to remove this connection. I don't want this connection anymore. What I can do here for that is I can go back first of all, and I can go to network settings. Okay, and because here I have a SSH enabled, which is already giving me a warning that you should not have SSH enabled for the public IP address, I'm going to delete this rule, security rule, right, which is created inside my NSG. So if you see, there is a NSG which is created. Now if I try to connect back again to my virtual machine, enter here, uh, again I will just say exit, and then again I will try to connect to my virtual machine. It will not allow me. 1 minute. Okay, maybe let me see. Because the session was there, no, that could be the reason. So until you close that session, it will not go with that one. So we'll click here. Okay, so I'm going to again go back to overview. Let me see in case if I can get this. No, connect, select native. Okay, I will copy this one back and say SSH and paste it here. Enter. Look, now it is not allowing me. Why? Because I closed it already. So even though I am kind of like created this one, I am not able to really connect. So how can we really connect to this one? Now I will go back. the Windows operating system. Let me reconnect. So I'll just click on the same thing link here. I will click on this.
Sir,
Connect. Yes.
like
Hello.
uh, showing the notification like the organizer is having a technical issue, so ask them to rejoin.
Okay. But others can see my screen or access me or maybe hear me? Are you guys able to see me or hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. No problem. We'll continue here. Put up a username and a password. Right. So I'm connected with this one operating system. I'm going to close and I'm saying yes. Okay, fine. No problem. Show me. Uh, then now because I have actually stopped because my system is not working from here, right? What I can do, I can go ahead and I can copy this, but I'm not going to use this IP address, right? Instead of this IP address, I'm going to use the internal IP address which is attached to my Windows Ubuntu system. Okay, let me click here. Let me go back to my overview and I'll go to this IP address. I'll just copy this IP address. I'll go back to my Windows server and here also I'm going to connect with the command prompt. Because again command prompt is important because we are going to connect using SSH. Perfect. So now I can see SSH here. I will just say SSH and then again Azure admin @ pressed enter. You can see exactly the same thing. Yes, and the same password we need to really use. Ah. Maybe I'm doing it too fast. Seriously. Come on, man. It's not good. Azure admin. Is it a something which I'm using correctly? Azure admin. Hmm. Azure. Oh, okay. I think the password is username is not proper. That's why. SSH and username it will be Azure. E is missing actually in this one. 10.0.0.5. That's what I'm thinking that what is the problem? Okay, connected, right? Now, as you can see here, we have actually kind of like gone through this path. Yeah, we gone through this particular path, right? Rather than going from this particular path or connecting with this one. And this is a standard best practices which we really do. Now, when I talk about this network component, right, this is something which you're gonna create tomorrow, and I'll explain you that what is this virtual network thing, and then we will also see some other flavors of Windows and how we can really, connect to these particular pieces. Okay, so far with me, guys. Any questions? Perfect. In case if you don't have any questions, we'll close it for today, and then we'll connect you tomorrow. Hello?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, then. Thank you very much. And please keep practicing on this one. These are very, very important topics which we are discussing, right? Again, virtual machine creation is a very on remaining topics whatever we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss a lot about these virtual machines, how to create, how to deploy, and all those things, right? So keep practicing. And storage account is also something I believe you have must have tried. If not, please try that one. And in case if you have any questions for that also, we can discuss that. Perfect, guys. I think that's it for today. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.